Welcome to another episode of College Basketball Addiction. I am your host, J-Man. Follow me on Twitter, J-Man's Takes. With me again today is Sister Jean, still in her box. Today's episode, we're going to talk about UNC basketball, the struggle surrounding UNC. They're 12-8, 5-3 in the ACC, and they've lost two in a row to Stanford and to Wake Forest, both by 1 point. So we're going to go right into it. What the hell is going on in Chapel Hill? We know UNC is small in the post, and there's no way of fixing that. That is what it is. UNC's undersized in the post position. They whiffed on trying to get guys in the portal. But I'd argue that's not just the biggest issue for UNC. UNC's biggest issue is the lack of three-point consistency in their offense, in their scheme, by their guards, and their inability to improve that aspect as a team via the portal. They knew Cadeau was a guy that teams would sag off from three all year last year. Shot low 20s last year, maybe in the teens from three. Then you have Cade Tyson, who, yes, he was a 40% three-point shooter at Belmont, but he is a shell of himself. We're going to get into Cade Tyson in a minute, but all of a sudden that guy's shooting 29% from three. RJ Davis is shooting 29% from three because he's settling for tough ones. We're going to get into that. And then everybody else on the team are not consistent, reliable three-point shooters, and you're seeing this UNC team that is so well equipped that we all know they're so well equipped to push the pace, get out in transition, get easy ones in transition, score in the 80s to the high 80s to low 90s, and they're losing games against like a Wake Forest and Stanford in the low 70s or in the 60s. That's not UNC basketball. So number one I want to talk about is Cade Tyson, who I already alluded to a little bit. Cade is averaging 9 minutes per game, scoring 3 points per game, and he was tapped in the offseason as UNC's Dalton Connect. UNC's Dalton Connect. He is no Dalton Connect. He had 23 points on 9 of 14 from the field, 5 of 10 from three against LaSalle this season. The best game of his UNC career, without a doubt. Outside of that game, Cade Tyson is 11 of 36 from the field at 30%, and he's 5 of 24 from three at 21%. And oh, by the way, he's shooting 57% from the free throw line this year. His 2 years at Belmont, he shot 85%. So what does that tell me as a guy that, watched the game, played the game, coached the game? It tells me that Cade Tyson has absolutely zero confidence in his game. And that's not a shot, no shade at Cade Tyson. It just looks like he is so far in his head and his self-confidence is so low that he is second-guessing himself as a ball player, and he's not playing instinctively. He is thinking and overthinking every little thing. He played 3 minutes against Wake Forest last game, and he shot one shot. And that one shot, he called it, he ripped through, then he jabbed again. He caught it, ripped through, got back in triple threat, dragged his pivot foot as he jabbed again, and then created some sort of separation to where he shot a three from the wing, hit the other side of the glass, and clanked off. And that was the only action he had at Wake Forest in UNC's loss. The guy just has no self-confidence right now, and it's crushing not only him but the team, because he was a guy that was supposed to be penciled in as a 20 to 25 minutes per game guy for UNC, and now this guy is playing 9 minutes a game, and it's going to continue to get less and less because the double-digit minutes he played were against the LaSalles of the world in the non-conference and the Campbells. It wasn't against ACC teams, and that's a shame, right? Cade Tyson is a good player, but he is so far in his head that he's overthinking everything, and it's hurting him massively. I don't know how to fix that for him. As a former player, I obviously had conversations with coaches behind closed doors, which I assume Cade's had, film sessions. I feel like the staff is doing the best they can to give him a pat on the back. But at the end of the day, he's got to find it within himself to overcome these fears and whatever's going on mentally. So Cade Tyson, if UNC can get him to 12 to 13 minutes per game, and then, score a couple buckets in those stints and not turn the ball over, then that would help this team at least somewhat, because right now he's giving them nothing. And number two, what's wrong with UNC? In Jackson and RJ Davis have to learn to play together. It is crazy. I don't know if people realize this, but they just one of those guys plays really well one game and the other's off. That's just how it is. Either one can be that way. And the last two games, who's played well? RJ Davis, who has not played well in Jackson. If you don't believe me, I have box scores to talk about this. Last game against Wake Forest, RJ Davis had 21 points on 8 of 16 shooting. In Jackson's loss against Wake Forest, had 7 points on 3 of 11 from the field and 1 of 7 from 3. Loss against Stanford, RJ Davis had 19 points on 6 of 15. Not great shooting efficiency, but 19 points on 6 of 15. And in Jackson, had 6 points on 1 of 8 from the field and 0 of 5 from 3. And then you go through ranked teams UNC's played this year. Versus Alabama in Jackson, 23 points on 10 of 17. RJ Davis shot 7 of 24 from the field, 1 of 11 from 3 against Alabama. Against Florida, both played pretty well, and that was a game that UNC came back from behind and, almost won that game. In Jackson was still playing low minutes to what he's playing now. Now he's playing in the 30s every game. But he played 22 minutes, had 11 points on 5 of 9. RJ Davis was 10 of 19 for 29 points. And lastly, my last stat for you about these guys, the one game that UNC won against a ranked team, though UCLA is not ranked anymore, but in that game, RJ Davis and N. Jackson both played well together. N. Jackson scored 24 points on 8 of 12, and RJ Davis scored 17 points on 5 of 12. So when those two guys play well together, then this team's offense is the prototypical UNC team of scoring in the low 80s to the low 90s and gunning and running and shooting good shots and getting easy ones. Elliot Cadeau, for what Elliot Cadeau is, he is a guy that runs that tempo so well, and it keeps UNC in games. Now, is he a good three-point shooter? Absolutely not. Is he trying to improve? He is somewhat. But what Elliot Cadeau is for this UNC team is when they get a defense rebound or he gets a defensive rebound, he takes one dribble and then he's throwing a cross-court pass or he's throwing it up the alleyway, and they're pitching and running and they're trying to get layups. And when you have N. Jackson's ability to dunk on somebody like he did against Hunter Silas, and you can get those easy ones with his freak athleticism, or RJ Davis hitting transition threes, then this team can get to that next level. They are struggling right now, but they have shown flashes of it, that they are a good team. They just have to put it together because they have not put it together consistently this season, and it showed. And so RJ Davis, actually still on N. Jackson. N. Jackson is one of my favorite players to watch in college basketball. If you don't know me, if this is the first video you're watching of me, I am a Duke fan, but I'm a basketball enthusiast. I love basketball. And N. Jackson, to me, is much-watched television. The dude is fast as hell, athletic as hell, and his shot, whether it's a pull-up or a three, is butter. Love watching N. Jackson play. I honestly think he should be UNC's number one option over RJ Davis, or at least 1A, and RJ Davis is 1B. UNC won 6 out of 7 games, and in those 7 games, N. Jackson scored 20 or more in 6 of the 7, and the one game he did not score more than 20 was 18 points in a win against SMU. So clearly there's something there with UNC when N. Jackson's the guy, but with the responsibilities of being the guy, you can't lay duds like you did against Wake Forest and Stanford and combine 4 of 19 from the field and 1 of 12 from 3. Can't happen. Can't happen. Can't have it. Can't have it. Can't happen. And RJ Davis, these two guys, good scores. RJ Davis, 17.5 points per game. But this season, man, he is just shooting like a lot of tough ones. He shot 43% from the field last year, 40 from 3, 87 from the line. That were his shooting splits on 16 shots per game. A lot of volume, 43, 40, 87 is really good shooting splits for that. This year, he's shooting 15 shots per game, but he's shooting 39% from the field, 29 from 3, and 87 from the line. So what does that tell me looking at those splits? Free throw percentage is the same. So he clearly still can know how to shoot the basketball. But the first two numbers, the 39% from the field and 29% from three, tell me he loves settling for tough ones. And he just can't do that, right? You can't settle for tough ones in college basketball. Every possession matters. And RJ Davis can hit tough ones. It's kind of like him and Hunter Salas are the same in that aspect of those are two really good guards that can score, but just because they can hit a tough one doesn't mean they need to settle for a tough one. And so he's got to start getting better and cleaner looks for himself. And with N. Jackson stepping in the role as the Batman or Robin, whichever one you want him to be for this UNC team, that should give RJ Davis easier looks. Now he just has to hit those easier looks. And as I've said on the previous box scores against teams, one is hot, one's not. They both need to be hot together. And there's just no reason RJ Davis is the worst three-point shooting guard on this team. There's no reason RJ Davis is the worst shooting guard on this team. I mean, K. Tyson, who I just talked about, and Elliot Cadeau are both at 29.4% from three. Seth Trimble at 33%, N. Jackson 37%, and Drake Powell at 38%. Though I think Powell's will go down because there's a hitch in that shot and it doesn't look great. But point still stands. RJ Davis should not be at 29.1, and those guys are ahead of him, minus N. Jackson. So get RJ Davis easier looks. How do you do that? Keep going to the rim like you do. Keep getting to the charity stripe. If you can't get to the rim on the penetration for a shot, kick it out, relocate, and catch and shoot three like you always do, or catch, get ready, shot fake, sidestep three as the defender blows by like you do. So those are things that I have come to find out with UNC and watching this UNC team is RJ Davis and Jackson, fun players. The tempo will always keep UNC in ball games, but the reason they struggle is due to outside of having an undersized center position is their two best players can ever play well together at the same time. Just statistically hasn't been done. And Hubert Davis needs to figure something out to get both these guys going together. So I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll see you guys next time.